we are in a very welcoming space here in northern Michigan.
It's part of our culture, and as Trevor says, especially it's noticeable when our international travelers come. People want to also experience new things, new people, and new places.
Welcome to Barefoot, the official podcast of Grand Traverse Resort and Spa and all things Northern Michigan. Whether you're dipping your toes in the lake, sipping wine on the peninsula, or playing your best round of golf, let us guide you on your next up north adventure. Join with me today is Dave Lorenz with Pure Michigan and Trevor Tkach with Traverse City Tourism. And we are kicking off the spring and summer season, I think, in a very strong way. You two are both here with me because we are hosting the Pure Michigan Governors Conference on Tourism. And this is a very exciting time kind of for everyone in the hospitality and tourism industry in the state of Michigan.
It is. We're proud to host it once again. The last time we hosted this event was pre-pandemic. So much has changed since last we had folks up north to Traverse City to talk about the industry. And I'm excited about the topics. You know, I feel like we're recovering together as a state. We're doing a lot of good work, and there's a lot of great content for this coming event.
That's kind of wild to think. It hasn't been up in Traverse City since before the pandemic. We were lucky to get together back in November down in Detroit.
Yeah, and that was strange in its own way as well, because I really felt it was important that we meet in person for the Pure Michigan Governors Conference on Tourism for 2021. We knew we would eventually be able to meet safely. So we deliberately didn't have it at springtime last year. We bumped it back to that, early November time period. In anticipation of better times. They came. We were able to meet in Detroit. Everybody had a great time. And now 6 months later, here we are. And the thing is, people still couldn't wait to be here for two reasons, I think. Really more than that. But the two primary reasons, they can't wait to get to Traverse City and to see this beautiful property. And number two, they can't wait to get back together to learn and share and grow and get this travel industry back on its feet in every way, from leisure to business to group travel to sports travel. In every way, it's time to get back to traveling in Pure Michigan.
And it is interesting, like we just said, we were together in November 2021, so 6 months, but even just in these short 6 months, so much has changed locally or just across the state.
Yeah, well, I think one of the best things for the travel industry is that the meetings, conference, convention side of travel is now rebounding, and we're starting to get back into that schedule as well. So we're starting to get to the normal business travel, and then we're also kind of making up for the last couple of years. So you have this really kind of strange confluence of kind of like what we did, these delayed conferences, so ones that may have been scheduled for 2 years ago or a year ago are now starting to happen, on top of the ones who would normally start to happen. So we're going to go from stop to go pretty fast. And I can't wait, because business travel means jobs, it means money, it means sales for businesses, and that means more jobs and more tax revenue.
And we're seeing an increase in all of those areas up here, aren't we, Trevor?
We are. Yeah, during the pandemic, Traverse City was hit just like all other destinations. We were lucky enough to have a good leisure product. Wide open spaces was very attractive during the pandemic, but business travel was obsolete. We didn't have an opportunity to host meetings or events. We couldn't, we couldn't get business, traditional commute business going again, and it's still lagging. And so when you're looking at recovery, I think the visual that most people have is that, boy, you're busy in the summertime, so you're back. Well, that piece of business for us was back, but we are very dependent on group business. This property, Grand Traverse Resort and Spa, is proof of that. You've got close to 90,000 square feet of meeting space here. And if that's going underutilized, that's a really big asset in a small community that isn't being used to its fullest potential. So our goal is to try to ramp everything back up. And for us, normally that meeting and conference business and business travel is super critical in spring, in winter, and fall. It's super critical because leisure dominates summer, as everybody knows, from northern Michigan, but we need all four seasons to have a sustainable economy up here.
And I think we're finally starting to see that again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're starting to feel recovery. You can see it with, bookings. I think, as Dave mentioned, there was a lot of conferences that were just waiting to turn back on. It was all there. We just needed the thumbs up to do it. Now we're all in the same spot and trying to get staffing back. Mm-hmm. And this is an international issue. A lot of people left hospitality because this industry was hit harder than any other industry during the pandemic. We lost roughly in this state 27% of all jobs lost in this state were hospitality-related, leisure-related jobs. So we have a long way to go in rebuilding that. But events like this one, the Governor's Conference on Tourism, being able to bring people together and build up that esprit de corps and get people excited about it again, that's a step in the right direction in rebuilding the team.
If you are looking for those things, being part of a family, feeling appreciated, feeling like you're doing good and helping others, that is the hospitality industry,
sure is.
And that is just tourism in Michigan. We have that Midwest hospitality too.
Yeah.
And I think you really see it up here in northern Michigan.
Yeah, it definitely sets us apart in the Midwest, but across the country. And you hear it from visitors from all over the world. They come here and, we had the Ironman event, the triathlon, and that's a great sample of people from all over the world coming in to compete at this event. And they're so surprised by how welcoming we are. Small communities. We moved it to Frankfort this past year, from Traverse City out to Frankfort on Lake Michigan. And it went off without a hitch. And the community was so welcoming. They rallied and they made people feel really good about being in that town. And you don't get that everywhere. I think we sometimes take it for granted. But we are in a very welcoming space here in northern Michigan.
Yeah, it's a very special trait, and I think it's what brings people back year after year. So like we've said, over the past 2 years, we've really seen a spotlight on Michigan, and specifically northern Michigan, and I think it's because of what we're able to offer in our area, and it's just going to help us bounce back with all forms of tourism. International travel coming back, business travel coming back, and your new and returning leisure guests as well.
That's right, and they dovetail into one another really well in northern Michigan. You see a lot of people, we call it bleisure, right? Business and leisure blend, where people will, they realize, I'm going to Traverse City, and they'll tack on a day or two, or they'll bring the family. And we've got great product for that, with the wineries, more than 40 wineries in our region now, so it's very appealing for couples and groups to come up. The golf has always been spectacular, and no sport has grown more during the pandemic than golf. And so we still have a great product that's very accessible to families. You're seeing more females getting involved, so that's really exciting to see more of a generational shift, but also maybe a more diverse audience out on the golf courses. We got the beaches and the water. In northern Michigan, it's the most pure of pure. It's so wonderful, and so when people have a chance to come up here for work, they want to play as well.
What other trends are we seeing, Dave? I mean, your focus is on this so strong. Yep. With just, again, international travel returning, business travel returning, or new people discovering Michigan for, fun and business reasons.
Yeah, it's interesting how COVID has changed us in so many ways. We hate to admit that we've been changed by such a tragedy, but we've had this collective trauma, even as though we've had to deal with it separately. And that has caused a few things to change in our expectations of what to expect on a vacation, and even just the way we work, as Trevor was talking about. You will find in the next year and in the next coming years, I believe, more people traveling during traditional business time, doing their work from wherever they are with website access and such, and then spending the evenings out enjoying a community, enjoying that culture. I hope bringing their entire family. And I hope that education is going to kind of catch on this model as well. And we're going to talk about that a little bit at the conference. Some other things that have really popped up at the top of our minds is this was a huge health crisis. So people are going to be looking for healthy attractions where you can do healthy things. Maybe there are places with fitness facilities or yoga classes that cater to the visitor. People are going to be looking for those things as well. There are a bunch of other things like this that I think are going to provide great opportunity for a state like Michigan, because we are this four-season state. People want to also experience new things, new people, and new places. And if there's ever been a time when we need to visit new people and new places, it's now. During COVID, we also dealt with all this social unrest, justice issues, racial challenges. The travel industry has always brought us together, but now I'm hoping we can encourage people to intentionally to travel places where people literally appear to be different, because it's through this full immersion experience that we get to understand each other better. We get to appreciate each other's perspectives and start to accept each other's experiences that formulate who we are, and what our beliefs are, and how we see things. And I hope through that experience, we're going to be better off as a society. That's what travel can do. I think more than ever, that's what travel will do. And we're going to lead that effort in this state. We're going to show the country how we can do our best to bring people together.
Anyone who's coming here who might be a new guest, what would you tell them is one thing they need to do when they come to Traverse City?
Oh man, one thing.
I know that's a hard thing to narrow down.
I know, there's always these go-tos that we send people off to. I tell you the one thing that if you haven't been north, Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore is on everybody's list in Michigan. If you haven't been to it, eventually you're going to get to it, hopefully. There are a lot of unexplored parts of that dune, and I think a lot of people immediately gravitate to the dune climb and whatnot. I brought up the Ironman 70.3 triathlon earlier, and that's in Frankfurt, which is a little bit south of where people traditionally go for the dunes. The dunes actually start right there, and there's dunes outside of the Sleeping Bear classified lakeshore that are equally as desirable. And my recommendation to anyone heading north, whether you have been here before or not, is get outside of your comfort zone, check out more of that lakeshore, because there are a ton of really amazing trails and scenic lookouts that you probably haven't seen yet.
Now, it's kind of hard to ask you, Dave, because you are all over the state. And you can't really say you have a favorite spot, probably, in your role. But
I used to always say my address, but after the last 2 years, that's the last place I want to be. Well, it always depends on the season. So this coming warm weather season, I am actually looking forward to going to some places that I haven't spent a lot of time at. And in fact, I really hope that more people go to these places that are lesser known, and kind of take a little pressure off the weekends here in the Traverse City area. So we're going to do our best to encourage people to check out those places that are lesser known, and to go into the cities. We usually think about going to the beach, going to the forest, all that. But this summer, I'm really hoping that we head back to our cities, we explore those places, we spend some money on those places, we get people back to work. Trevor talked about this kind of unbalanced recovery of different sectors of the industry. Well, it's also an unbalanced recovery from areas of the state. Up north, it's been doing well. Our big cities, not so much. So I'm going to be heading to Detroit and Lansing and Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo and Battle Creek and Flint and Saginaw. I'm already in the Muskegon area. And checking those places out from a new set of eyes and seeing what I can experience those places as well.
There's so much to do, so much to see, so much travel even just within our own state. It's an exciting time, and I think it's good that we're seeing, what's the word? Bleisure?
Bleisure, yes.
It's not a very pretty word.
We make up words all the time.
But it gets the point across. It's that business leisure blend, which is so important to us.
And let's do our staycation this year too. Stay around.
I think
most people will, by the way. People aren't going to be traveling very far this year.
No, and when you live here, you don't have to.
Yeah, why would you?
That's right.
So if people are looking for more information, there's a couple websites you can go to.
TraverseCity.com, where you can set up great itineraries, put everything on your list, and get your room and get all your reservations in advance. It's always smart, even in this day and age.
Oh, yeah.
Even though as Dave pointed out, some of the bigger cities are still maybe slower. I think at peak times, if you don't make a plan, you might miss out on your favorite thing. So.
Yeah, and of course, Tim Allen always says, your trip begins at Michigan.org, and for the 16th year, we're back on the air with Tim. So be looking for those ads and hearing those ads as well.
Pure Michigan.
Pure Michigan.
And if you're looking for more information on our Barefoot podcast, just head to GrandTraversResort.com.